In 1908, two American outlaws were supposedly gunned down by Bolivian soldiers in a dramatic shootout. But what if I told you that everything you think you know about the death of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid is a lie? Robert Leroy Parker was born in 1866 in a tiny Mormon settlement in Utah, where his father owned just 160 acres of unforgiving farmland. At age 13, young Robert met Mike Cassidy, a local rancher with a dark secret: he was stealing cattle. This chance encounter would transform a farm boy into the most notorious outlaw leader in American history. By age 18, Robert had adopted the name Butch Cassidy and committed his first documented crime, stealing a $5 pair of jeans from a store in Telluride, Colorado. Meanwhile, 160 miles away, Harry Alonzo Longabaugh was earning his legendary nickname in the most mundane way possible. In 1887, at just 20 years old, he was arrested for stealing a horse worth $5 in Sundance, Wyoming, and sentenced to 18 months in the Cook County Jail. The locals started calling him the Sundance Kid, and the name stuck. Little did anyone know that this petty horse thief would become the fastest gun in the Wild West, with reflexes so quick that witnesses claimed he could draw and fire in under half a second. In 1896, these two outlaws' paths would cross in the most unlikely place, a legitimate job. Both were working as ranch hands in Wyoming when they discovered they shared the same dream: easy money through train robbery. On August 13, 1896, they struck their first target together, a Union Pacific train carrying a modest $1,000 payroll. But this wasn't just a robbery, it was a carefully orchestrated recruitment test. Butch was secretly assembling the most successful criminal organization the American West had ever seen. By 1898, Butch had formed the Wild Bunch, a rotating cast of 11 core members who would execute the most audacious heists in American history. Their headquarters was a remote hideout called Hole in the Wall, a natural fortress in Wyoming accessible only through a narrow canyon passage. From this base, they planned robberies with military precision. Their biggest score came on July 3, 1901, when they dynamited a Union Pacific train safe containing $65,000, equivalent to $2.4 million today. But success bred a dangerous enemy. The Pinkerton Detective Agency, America's premier private security force, had declared war on the Wild Bunch. Led by the relentless Charlie Siringo, they deployed an unprecedented manhunt involving 40 full-time agents and a $4,000 reward, worth $150,000 today. The Pinkertons used revolutionary techniques, fingerprinting, surveillance networks, and something the outlaws had never faced before: professional photographs distributed to every law enforcement agency across 23 states. Suddenly, Butch and Sundance couldn't show their faces anywhere in America without risking capture. In February 1901, everything changed when Sundance met Etta Place, a mysterious woman whose true identity remains unknown to this day. Some historians believe she was a schoolteacher from Texas, others claim she was a prostitute from Colorado, but one fact is undeniable: she was educated, beautiful, and completely devoted to Sundance. Together, the three formed an unlikely trio that would soon make a decision that shocked everyone who knew them. They were going to flee America forever. On February 20, 1902, Butch Cassidy, Sundance Kid, and Etta Place boarded the steamer SS Soldier Prince in New York Harbor, bound for Buenos Aires, Argentina. They weren't running scared, they were traveling first class under assumed names, with Etta posing as Sundance's wife. Even more shocking, they carried legitimate letters of recommendation and planned to become respectable ranchers. For 2 years, they successfully operated a 12,000-acre ranch in Patagonia, raising cattle and sheep. But old habits die hard, and easy money was calling. By 1905, the trio had returned to their criminal ways, robbing banks across Argentina with the same precision they'd used in America. But south. American law enforcement was different, more brutal, less concerned with taking prisoners alive. After a particularly violent bank robbery in Villa Mercedes that netted $100,000, Etta Place made a shocking decision. In 1906, she sailed back to the United States, leaving Sundance heartbroken and the partnership forever changed. She vanished from history, and her fate remains one of the Wild West's greatest mysteries. Now operating as just a duo, Butch and Sundance became increasingly reckless. On November 3, 1908, they robbed a mining company payroll in San Vicente, Bolivia, stealing $15,000. But this time, they were spotted by local authorities who alerted the Bolivian army. As night fell, the two Americans found themselves surrounded by soldiers in a small adobe building. According to the official report filed by Captain Justo Concha, gunshots rang out at approximately 2 a.m. on November 4, 1908. When morning came, 2 bodies were found inside. But here's where the official story falls apart. The bodies were buried in unmarked graves and never properly identified. No photographs were taken, no fingerprints recorded, and most suspicious of all, local witnesses described the dead men as much younger and shorter than Butch and Sundance. In 1911, Butch's sister received a letter claiming to be from her supposedly dead brother. In 1925, a man matching Butch's exact description visited his childhood friend in Utah, sharing intimate details only the real Butch Cassidy could have known. The evidence for their survival is compelling. Between 1910 and 1935, at least 12 credible witnesses claimed to have encountered either Butch or Sundance in locations across the American West. A former Pinkerton agent named Arthur Chapman investigated these claims in 1930 and concluded that both men likely survived Bolivia and returned to America under new identities. Even more intriguing, forensic anthropologist Clyde Snow examined the supposed burial site in 1991 and found DNA evidence that definitively ruled out the possibility that Butch Cassidy was buried there. The most compelling theory suggests that Butch Cassidy returned to the United States and lived quietly until his death in 1937, working as a machinist in Washington state under the name William Phillips. Phillips possessed detailed knowledge of wild bunch operations, had distinctive scars matching Butch's description, and on his deathbed, confessed to being the notorious outlaw leader. As for Sundance, some believe he returned to his family in Pennsylvania, while others claim he died fighting in World War I. The truth may have died with them. In the end, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid achieved something no other outlaws ever managed: they became legends precisely because they disappeared. Whether they died in that shootout in Bolivia or lived out their days in quiet anonymity, they had already won the ultimate victory: immortality in American folklore.